The advancement of Roblox comes a lot of new mobile players on Project Flight. And I know I'm a little bit late to the update, but as it turns out, mobile support is actually in Project Flight. But the question is it actually functional? Let's find out. Does anyone else prefer the old Project Flight menu music? Starting with the GUI, both PC and mobile have pretty smooth GUI. However, some of the buttons on mobile, such as this confirm button, is really small and hard to press. There's a menu on the right side of the screen for mobile players, but you have to scroll on it to reach some of the features. But I'm going to tell you now, it is so annoying to use, as whenever I'm trying to scroll, like to change camera views or something like that, it just moves my actual camera instead. It's actual rage bait. And also, cockpit camera is unusable in mobile as well, especially for the Boeing 737, and not to mention the minimap. Honestly, I wouldn't even bother trying to use it. The icons are too small and you just end up moving the camera instead of the map. The altitude indicator is also in the top right of the screen. This is weird. At first I couldn't actually find it. In my opinion, I think it should be next to the speed indicator. This UI is getting revamped in update 9 anyway though, so I will be trying this again. The camera is kind of interesting on mobile. It's so pointlessly painful to use. Like every time you try and zoom in or out, I just get kicked out of the plane. You have to press on the button on the side of the screen to get to the other camera views. To access some more buttons to change the camera view. Doesn't make sense. So now into the cockpit. How do we actually get into the cockpit? The flight controls work very differently on mobile than on PC. PC has this weird crossing which you can move around with your mouse to fly the plane. On mobile, there are two ways you can use the flight controls. There's either this Minecraft looking thing in the corner of the screen, or if you press this button here, the way you move your phone corresponds to how you fly the plane, if that makes any sense at all. We'll have a close look at this later. Now onto engine start and pushback. On PC, you can either press E on your keyboard, use your mouse to click on the engine buttons on the right of the screen, or if you're flying the Boeing 737, you can use the engine toggle switches on the overhead panel and switch them to ground mode. On mobile, I don't actually think there's a button to do it, so just press the engine buttons on the right side of the screen, or the engine switches in a 737 cockpit, same as PC. And to pushback, all you need to do on PC is press P on your keyboard, and on mobile, you just press the pushback button on the right side of the screen. Now onto taxiing. On PC, you use the throttle to control how fast you go, which is the same on mobile, obviously. And you use the aileron to control the tiller, which I've always thought was weird, because normally it would be the rudder, but I guess it kind of makes sense, since in Project Flight, the rudder isn't an axis, it's just keys on your keyboard. You can also press B on your keyboard to slow down. Mobile's a little different, as braking is actually an axis, I think, which is better than on PC, as you have more control over how fast the plane slows down. Also, following the taxi lines is slightly more difficult on mobile, but that's just because I'm used to playing on PC. If you are enjoying this video so far, please consider subscribing, as it would really help me out and I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get back to the video. I haven't got that much to comment on takeoff, but connecting to autopilot after takeoff when you use the phone movie thing can be quite fidgety. And when I say quite fidgety, I mean extremely fidgety, and extremely just a nightmare generally. The autopilot is quite easy to use on both. Lies. But on mobile, we have the same issue as earlier, where instead of scrolling, it would just move your actual camera, which actually infuriates me. Also, if you try and use the FCU in the 737 cockpit, the flight control unit, the autopilot panel, it just lags, and you have to swipe to change the values on the autopilot, which is genuinely the most painful thing in the world. So just use the GUI one, it's way easier. Landing is actually my favourite part, by the way. On PC, it's really easy and precise. The cross thing gives you a lot of control and precision. On mobile, again, I wasn't really expecting it to be easy because, well, it's on mobile, and I was right, it isn't easy at all. You can see me here physically struggling to maintain a decent glide path, and even when you press the phone movie thing at slightly the wrong position, all the inputs you add will be slightly off unless you sit in a really weird way, but then it just goes from one kind of uncomfortable to another. Also, what I thought was a brakes axis is actually just a switch, unfortunately, which is really sad and misleading. But oh well, live, laugh, love, I guess. Now for some miscellaneous stuff. Mobile support works on almost all Android phones, but sadly for you iPod users such as myself, it only works on iPhones 11 and newer, I think. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, it would really help out the channel. Can we get to 700 subscribers by the end of May? Thanks for watching and goodbye.